Welcome to SPS Extra, where we talk all about the latest in Spokane Schools athletics and activities.
On today's episode, we're getting ready for a time-honored tradition in Spokane, high school spirit games, from the rubber chicken to the Groovy Shoes to the newly established Railroad Rumble. I'm Stephanie Splater, Director of Athletics and Activities.
And I'm Taylor Brooks, Video Creation Specialist at SPS. All right, Steph, so how did we get here? How did we get to this new podcast for SPS?
Clearly, Spokane Schools needs an activities and athletics podcast.
Duh.
We don't have one yet, so this is going to be awesome. We're excited to talk to a lot of students and athletic leaders and club leaders and just everybody involved in the full student experience. So I'm looking forward to this.
Same. I'm really excited for this. And for me, I was once in the sports scene here in Spokane, so I got to know all of the high schools and SPS. And so to be connected in this way and to share how incredible these schools are in this way, I think will be really special.
Absolutely. And I guess my background is I'm a Spokane Schools kid.
Yeah.
And a 3-time rubber chicken champion.
No
We'll
big
just get
deal.
that out there as a Ferris Saxon. But really grew up here and have parents who were really involved in activities and athletics. And now that's what I'm doing. So excited to share all these stories in Spokane schools.
In 2018 and 2019, I got to cover Spirit Week at the arena as a sports broadcaster. So not only being on the broadcast, but also, doing live shots, doing interviews, getting pumped up for not only the game, but of course the competition as well. So I've seen it from that lens, and then going from that to now actually working for the school district, and you'll hear some awesome interviews here in a bit. How much time and effort goes into this, and how much
No joke.
How much camaraderie. You're right. It's seriously no joke.
And we're going to hear some actual firsthand what the kids are doing to get ready and what the schools are excited about during this episode when we have some student interviews a little later on. So that's great.
Yeah, so much fun. And you mentioned the Railroad Rumble. That's a mouthful,
So
first
exciting.
of all, but love that. That will kick off Spirit Week on Monday, January 30th. It's Rogers against Cheney.
Now, listen, last year we didn't have a ton of great days. Last year was not the best, but we pulled off Spirit Games last year.
Yeah.
And honestly, one of the best nights of it for in years was the Railroad Rumble when they hosted the first one last year out at Eastern. Cheney hosted it, and this year Rogers is going to host it in the Spokane Arena, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
The Rogers dance team, the Rogers spirit in general, so exciting.
Yeah, I
Cannot wait.
Oh, me either. And I think for them, I don't think that they were ever necessarily hurt that they weren't really a part of this, but you got to think that they were looking from the outside and looking into this week and being like, we want something like that.
Absolutely.
We want something established. And for them to do it for a second year, and they seem extremely serious that they want this to continue, which is beautiful. That's so fun for them.
It is so fun. And I think just for some context, these spirit games are at the core a basketball game.
Yeah.
So our girls and boys basketball teams play back to back. We've got the cheerleaders, the dance team, and then our awesome ASB groups involved in student leadership. And then we've got basically the entire school population, plus all the alumni, plus all the parents and everything. Often administrators are dressed up crazy, coaches dressed up crazy. I know in my day, there was a dunk contest, and so that was very exciting at the con. But this is really to celebrate a lot of school pride, unity, and cheer on these basketball teams. So, because the games are important too.
Absolutely.
But also the spirit is the key to this night. And so it's super, super exciting.
And I think the creativity that goes on and in the effort to make this really, really cool is something to note too, because just listening to these kids talk about their themes and how they're orchestrating this is so cool. And speaking of themes, Rogers, they're doing Nickelodeon.
Well, that's awesome.
That's
and
so
like
fun.
we walked away. I think their theme last year was I think video games or something like that,
Yeah.
and they were cool. They had a lot of cohesive visuals, which is really strong. And I know that Rogers is going to bring it this year with their awesome Nickelodeon theme for sure.
Big SpongeBob gal over here, so
Fantastic.
Pro
I'm not-
Nickelodeon.
Wouldn't be the person I am without Nickelodeon. I'm
So
sure.
true.
I'm sure, but I'm just excited to see the Pirates go up against the Blackhawks and show them what they've got. Because Rogers has a lot of spirit, and I think it's going to be fantastic. Can't wait.
Yes, agreed. And they did mention that last year they only had 3 cheerleaders. And so it was not difficult necessarily, but it took a little bit more extra effort to get the student section going. But their dance team is what they said picks them up constantly. I mean, if you don't know, Rogers' dance team is
so top notch.
So good. And so that is great. But they were excited to have a little bit more support in the cheerleading world this
and Rogers
year too.
definitely has been state champions in cheer in the past. So they've got it in them to pull it together. But I did notice that dance team. I mean, I know them in general, but they were definitely leading this whole Spirit War last year against Cheney, and it was pretty awesome. And to see them perform at any time, not just a Spirit game, go out and see the Rogers Pirate dance team.
Seriously.
Fantastic. Yeah. Quite a bit of hip hop, lots of some other, but that's what they specialize in. Awesome.
So going down the line, so we've got Railroad Rumble, Monday, January 30th, Tuesday, January 31st, the classic rubber chicken.
So, I mean, not to get too crazy into boring details, but my parents met at Lewis and Clark. And so started out being a Tiger and then switched over to Ferris because my dad was a football coach. So LC versus Ferris has been around for me with the rubber chicken. I mean, if it started in 1983, I'm not going to date myself, but I was in kindergarten then, so I did date myself. But it is so exciting, and I know that it came about in a really organic way at an ASB meeting with some kids who wanted to get together and make this Ferris LC basketball game even bigger than it already was as the South Hill rival. And so this dating back to 1983 we're looking at the list of themes. I mean, we've gone everywhere from Hawaiian to, we got some Surfing USA. So we loved that kind of theme for a while there.
Yes.
To Eye of the Tiger. Glad that LC jumped in on that because that's basically their fight song, even though it's a different kind of song. Can't forget those LC Star Wars drill team days when they came out as stormtroopers. Couldn't be more awesome. And then just giving a shout out to the dance team when I was in high school senior year, and their Jailhouse Rock halftime was just so fantastic, and just a time for everyone to come together. I know that I work with someone who didn't really go to games a lot, but always went to Rubber Chicken.
Of course.
So, and has really fond memories of it. So what a cool night to bring everyone together.
Yeah, it's so fun to look down at the different themes that Ferris and LC has done over the years. I giggled because here, 2021, no contest. Chuck is in quarantine.
How terrible. He was. He totally was.
We were all
oh my goodness.
at that point. And so it's crazy to think that 2 years ago, this week didn't happen. And
it was devastating.
Absolutely devastating.
Imagine being a senior and that's it. That is not okay.
It gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because even that was my brother's senior year of high school back in Illinois, and the things that he missed out on. And he had a shortened basketball season, maybe like 12 games senior year, and we are a basketball family. My dad was my coach. He was his coach in high school as well. And so to think about what those kiddos missed out on, and of course everyone in the world missed out on, but that title made me giggle a little bit, but it also makes you think of reality that Chuck was in quarantine as well as the Groovy Shoes, and it just didn't happen that year.
No, and it was hard to do last year because we were still in the depths of COVID stuff. But the community came together. We made sure everyone was safe, and I know masks were actually incorporated as a scoring piece last year, which, thinking back, that's not great, but at the time, that's what we had to work with. Mm-hmm. But people were so happy to just be back and do these spirit games because, like you said, they're a really big part of your high school experience, and especially if you go to any of our schools, we are into this. This is super serious. Mm-hmm. So, and I know our next one, we're going to talk about the Groovy Shoes. That's been around for a while too.
Yeah.
And I always remember that there was a community component to the Groovy Shoes that we didn't always have at Ferris and LC, but have since added, where it could be a canned food drive, or it could be a donation situation for local schools and other things. There's always been that piece, in addition to it already being a community event, because people come together. I know when I was checking people in last year at the doors, there were people who said, yeah, I went to NC 40 years ago and I'm here to support the Wolfpack and excited to be here. And it's like, that's what we're talking about. So
exactly. It's much more than a competition. It's much more than just a basketball game. It truly is this broad thing where the community is all in, and you put your differences aside. Students in the student section, doesn't matter who you're next to, you just know that you're cheering hard, you're having a good time, and this is likely going to be one of the best memories that you have in high school.
Oh, absolutely. And then I think about the players. I know my nephew played in a rubber chicken a couple years ago, and he was a good player and he had big games, but you're never going to play in front of the 9,000 people that he played in front of that night. That was so awesome. And just what a great experience. And then the other piece being the ASB kids from other schools who judge.
Yeah.
I always look up at the judges. They always sit on the baseline, but probably, 25, 30 rows up. I'm always looking at those judges for my whole life. That I'm like, oh man, being a spirit game judge is so cool. You hold a lot in your hands, and really you're holding a rubber chicken or some old shoes that have been painted with tons of different things over the years. But it's really cool, and I think that's awesome that they've kept student judges for this whole thing, because they really know what they're looking for.
Exactly.
And it's evolved. There's been different things that have been judged, halftime, yes, no, drill team, cheerleaders, all the things, but it ends up being just a really fun night. And then I think also one of the cool things from an athletics standpoint is you go in with your record. You go in thinking you know who's going to beat who in the game, but all cards are on the table and then tossed out because it's a rivalry game, and you've got thousands of people screaming for you that you may or may not usually have. Yeah. And you never know what can happen. My senior year, triple overtime.
Oh my goodness.
And we said, don't tell us who won the chicken until the end, because usually it's announced towards the end of the fourth quarter. Yeah. But we were like, nope, we got to win this game first, and then we'll hear about the chicken. So the game ends up becoming a really big deal as well, of course, as it should. But there's just a lot going on, and we're lucky to have the Spokane Arena to host it in.
Right. What a great,
super awesome
atmosphere. And something I've thought about when it comes to the Spirit Games and what you can even compare it to. And I don't think you can. I mean, I've been
Texas
in multiple,
football.
Right. I've been in multiple, markets in my career, but I have never seen anything like this. And the only thing I can really think of, and of course they don't really have themes every time, but the Kennel Club and Gonzaga games, really that's what that's see.
The
like if you go to Gonzaga and you are a part of that, it's probably similar to what it feels like to be in the student section for one of these Spirit games.
That's a great comparison.
But you just look at Gonzaga games and you see what it's like at the McCarthy Athletic Center, and there's nothing like it. There's no student section like that.
Best student section in the nation for college, for sure.
Absolutely. But so look at that, and then think about these Spirit games for high schoolers, and that's what they're getting. It's unreal.
So exciting. And I think that's why we did take that extra effort last year to make sure it happened. We weren't going to leave Chuck in quarantine. Chuck's the name of the rubber chicken. Got that name somewhere along the way. But we weren't going to leave him there, and we weren't going to have the shoes wherever they're kept. Maybe in a closet. I'm not sure where the shoes are kept. Probably in a trophy case, obviously. And then we're bringing this Railroad Rumble into year 2. So it's super exciting.
Yeah. So to just round out the week. So Groovy Shoes will be on Wednesday, February 1st. And you mentioned, you go into the game, you go into that day kind of knowing, and probably that whole year, who won the previous years, who's getting it back. North Central is looking to win this thing 7 years in a row.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that, and I think that is quite an accomplishment.
7 years. That's dedication. That is something. And you'll hear it in NC's interview, how much planning they do and how much of a tradition, a rich, rich tradition it is. Of course, it is for every school, but 7 times. Wow. Looking for 7.
Shadle better step it up this year.
I know, right?
They need to get it going. Now, have you heard what Shadle's theme is?
Oh.
'Cause I don't have Shadle's theme down, so that's a mystery. So we haven't heard back from them. Oh, maybe the kids will mention it in the...
I do know.
Oh, okay. Oh, you got it?
It's circus.
Oh, hey, circus. Yeah. That's pretty solid. Like, I think with the themes, you need to have something that has good music.
Yep.
You need to have the ability to have some sort of visual that makes sense that's then tied to your school. So there's going to be some Shadle colors within that circus.
Absolutely.
Because that's what kids wear. And I've noticed the kids have 2 shirts these days. There's often 2 colored shirts. My day, we only had 1.
Yeah.
But 2 shirts usually. Maybe not, but I've seen that last year.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. Circus is that seems like a solid theme. And NC's Disney. So right off the top, all that music and all that awesomeness that is Disney. Fantastic.
Yeah. Just imagine that all
You know,
coming
those
to
admin.
life.
Those admin are going to be wearing some Mickey Mouse ears.
They better be.
Or something like that. So we'll see. They always get really into it. And then we've got Rogers with Nickelodeon, like we mentioned.
Yep.
Ferris has had a travel theme all year, which I think is an interesting strategy.
Really?
So I noticed on their Instagram that they have themes at basketball games, and they've been different travel themes. So they're going to pull that all together for this big game. And then LC looks like they have a car racing theme. Awesome music.
Chuck hits
like
the
Go
track.
Speed Racer. I mean, all of it.
Yeah,
So that's
I feel like you could have a lot of really fun props
for sure.
with the racing thing.
Oh, hilarious. We were talking about props earlier. I mean, the props are cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rules about the props, but I think a lot of the rules are kind of thrown out for this game because usually we don't have noisemakers at games.
Yeah.
Oh, there's noisemakers at these games, but also you just want to have those props that are super visual so they can see them across the way.
Yeah.
And then the judges can see them. So that's cool.
Exactly. Which brings up a good point. You have to think about how big Spokane Arena is and how many people can fit in there. And then you want everyone to be able to see what you're doing. What comes to mind is the big tarps, but the big signs that go all the way across, and they usually rip them or do some
Those
crazy
are cool.
thing.
Those are really cool. And when those start rolling out, the excitement definitely increases.
Yeah.
And so my understanding is for most of these games, third quarter of the boys' games, double points. So that's when you start seeing all the props, all the things, all the music, all the cheers, and it's just crazy. I would imagine that's the high decibel time as far as the sound.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. But it keeps going even when the judging's over in the fourth quarter because we have to actually total it up. But super exciting, and just can't wait for this year's Spirit Week.
And I am so excited for this week. And of course, we've talked throughout this whole episode. We actually went out and did some interviews with ASB leadership groups across the district, and that's coming up next. Welcome back to SPS Extra. I'm Taylor Brooks.
And I'm Stephanie Splater.
As we've mentioned throughout this episode and talking about Spirit Week and the Spirit Games, we have actually gone out and done some interviews with ASB leadership groups across the district and how much work they have put into this and how excited they are for their respective Spirit Game. And we're starting with Groovy Shoes and Shadle Park's ASB leadership group.
I'm Evie Patel. I'm a senior.
I'm Kira Odell. I'm a senior.
I'm Kendall Hunter. I'm a senior.
I'm Samuel Psissi, and I'm a junior.
I'm Asenia Vila, and I'm a senior.
So let's just start with genuinely, how much goes into this and how excited are you guys for Groovy Shoes this year?
I'm pretty excited because it's my senior year, and I'm hoping that we win the shoes back. Honestly, I think we kind of start talking about it as soon as school starts, and we kind of start all the work 1 or 2 months into school when it's literally the middle of the school year when it actually happens.
Or I think students start planning it even a year before too. Cheerleaders start working on cheers, and we pick a theme a year in advance too.
Of course, when I walked into Mr. Harmon's room, you can see the audition board, you can see people signing up to be certain things. Who wants to explain that to us, and when you guys are at the game and what goes into that?
So it's a lot more than a basketball game. It's more of a spirit competition, obviously, everybody knows. What was outside of our leadership teacher's door was a character sign up. So we have different characters for the circus that we're gonna put on. So there's clowns and acrobats and strongmen and magicians. And so there's characters that will be on the floor during the basketball game, but then there's also a spirit week, so we'll be coming up with spirit days and stuff.
Love that. From your guys' past experiences, let's go back to those, because for you guys, the last 2 years probably weren't, I'm not even sure if you guys had a spirit game in 2020 because the pandemic was happening. Then 2021, I believe proof of vaccination was required and different things like that. So, and capacity was probably limited. So your experiences probably weren't great, but take me through the pandemic and how you guys still got through those things, and then how much it leads up to this year knowing that it's going to be normal per se.
Yeah, so in 2020, we were not able to have a Groovy Shoes, which was really unfortunate, but we came back in 2021 and we were able to have one. It got pushed back multiple times to February, which is now the date that we're going to have it just every year, so that kind of worked out. But it was still really exciting. It gave us more time to work on things too, so that was actually a plus. But it was super exciting to just get everyone back together after not being able to be together for a whole year.
Walk me through that. How does the scoring go for people who don't know how it goes? What goes into the scoring and all of those things?
So what goes into the scoring is there's like a few different components. There's theme, so like overall creativity and usage of like school colors. So you want to like use like your school colors, not like the theme colors, if that makes sense. There's volume, so like volume, spirit, and like use of props, and like how well the props are and stuff like that.
For scoring, we also, like Sam said earlier, have a scorecard, and so we sort of just go over that with North Central every year and see if we want to add or take away. Like last year we did add masks just for that COVID element, but this year that is off our scorecard, and so we're sort of debating whether to add something or not. So we do meet with them about that, and then we have a panel of judges that scores 2 quarters of the girls' game and I believe 2 quarters of the first quarter of the boys' game as well.
Of course, this is a rivalry. It's hyped up, and of course in sports we love rivalries. And then you put the whole competition thing, the spirit element to it. It's truly a rivalry. How much fun is that, especially in high school, to have a rivalry, to have something so specific where, of course, you're not necessarily being mean or hurtful to NC, but you guys are fired up for something like this.
We get like super excited, and I think what's really cool is that NC and Shadle are like neighboring schools, if that's what you would call it. But like we all went to middle school together, so it's like we fight and argue and like make jokes about it, but then it's like, oh, this is really fun because we like all come together like for the very last time.
Okay, this is a question for the seniors. With it being your last Groovy Shoes and your last Spirit Week, what do you guys really want to take from this and just the memories as you guys go on past graduation?
Like you'd think the answer would be like, I want to win the shoes, but like one thing is like, I want to see and hear Shadle pride and like hear Shadle and like all of our voices all together.
You guys just really spoke to this, but I want to ask the question, if you have, especially underclassmen who might be freshmen who have never seen this before, have never been to Groovy Shoes, what would you tell those students? Hey, you guys need to come. You guys should experience this. You guys will never forget these moments. What would you tell them if they're a little bit hesitant about participating?
I feel like a lot of people feel like they don't belong at Shadle, but like I just wish people would realize like if you come to Groovy Shoes, like you get to like be one with your school, and like you could actually find like a lot more things to like give you happiness. And like lots of people say like high school is like the greatest like time like of your life, and so like I think Groovy Shoes is the most fun thing you do in high school. So like you should definitely like join and be a part of it.
For like Groovy Shoes and like when everybody like comes together, like everybody said, and like we're all as one, it like makes Groovy Shoes the best. But then kids like see that Shadle spirit and kids see what goes on there, and then that translate into the building when like we have like our spirit days, or like every Friday like is green and gold day. Kids see that and kids want to be a part of that, and that's when like this community building and everything comes together.
Like if you're hesitant to come to the game, I would say like to just get involved and like get groovy, because it's like your one chance to be involved and like be a part of leadership. Because if you're not a cheerleader, if you're not a part of the band even, or if you don't play sports, you're not like highlighted. But when you're in the crowd cheering the same exact cheer as everybody else, you're with the rest of the school and you're a Highlander.
So that was all 5 of Shadle Park's ASB leadership group, and you can hear it in their voices how bad they want this, and why wouldn't you? You've lost 6 years in a row. But on the flip side of that, you have North Central, who has maintained and been able to pull this off and win for the last 6 years. That takes a lot of effort.
That's hard.
Too. That's so hard.
I think they're ready for it, though.
I think so too, and this interview is going to show how ready they are for this year's Groovy Shoes.
Hi everyone, my name is Nora Henning and I'm a senior here at NC.
Hello, my name is Kelsey Delp and I'm also a senior here.
I am Xander Shaw and I'm a senior as well, class of 23.
All right, so senior year of Groovy Shoes. I know the last few years have not been the same, obviously, because of COVID last year, and then the year before you guys did not have one. So let's just start with the excitement around this year's Groovy Shoes.
I think since this is the first normal Groovy Shoes, because last year we had to wear masks, and that was a part of the grading, actually was the masks. It's just really special, especially since the last one we did so well, Red and Black Sea. It's just really iconic. We're just going to try and top that in every way.
Talking about just the buy-in with being a part of this, how do you guys convince people? I mean, it's not hard, especially if you're, for example, watching the broadcast or you're seeing the experience, but how do you guys convince people to truly be a part of this and take it seriously?
I don't know. I don't think we've ever had any trouble convincing people. It is like a year-long experience here at NC. We start practicing our cheers at like our very first Welcome Back Con. Our characters have auditions like months in advance. We release our theme through like a fun video and we do voting months in advance. Like the entire year like is the hype up to this. I don't think a single student here at NC doesn't know what's happening. I know like personally, I was in the IST program here, so I started here when I was in 7th grade, and I just remember, you know, being like 12 and walking around the school not knowing what's going on, people talking about like the 2P, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. But then I know I went to like the con and I saw everything going on and I was like, okay, like this sounds so fun, like I'll just try it out, and it was like the best thing ever.
I think it's also important to note that, especially at North Central, we have so much going on, club and academic-wise. Sometimes our sports programs aren't always the top or the foremost of our students' thoughts, but I can just say the amount of participation we get in Groovy Shoes, like around that sporting event, is massive, and I think it's just because Groovy Shoes is a time of complete unity and family for all of us. So you go once and you talk to people and they are completely hooked.
We also make a lot of really dorky hype videos. We release our theme through a rap written by our very own Kelsey Delp. 10 out of 10 amazing.
Disney. Okay, I did see that. So Disney, take me through that and why, you know, how you guys thought of this and how creative you can get with something like Disney, because seriously, it's endless, I feel like.
Okay, so our process of deciding themes is within our leadership class. We kind of decide on 30-ish themes, and we just start narrowing down from there until we get our top 4 themes. And then the whole school votes, and whatever the school votes is our theme. We normally do a video explaining what the characters and props and things like that could look like. Disney being such a broad theme, it's actually great because we have so much to choose from. This year in particular, I don't think we quite understood what we were maybe getting into with Disney. So we here at NC are beyond blessed to be so diverse in our student population, that we have so many different types of peoples under one roof. It's something it's a one-in-a-lifetime experience, like truly. And I don't think that we quite understood what our characters were going to be like, because we were like, oh, let's do all these princesses and all these things, and we're only thinking what's, you know, like who's red and black, like what can we do to create hype. But you also have to remember that a lot of these characters are representing cultures, so it was really important to us that we do that correctly without causing any harm, because for us it wouldn't be a win if any one of our students got harmed by something we did just to get a win. So we decided that our characters this year actually would all be non-humans, to try and eliminate that aspect. So that has actually been a little bit of a learning curve, but I think we've taken it with great stride, and I really think we've been quite creative with what we're doing. And I mean, personally, we're still going to get the dub, hopefully. but I do think we put in a lot of time and effort in our creativity, and with our class, it just keeps flowing and things are popping out every day.
That is beautiful, that you guys are thinking of it in that way with making the characters or whatever it may be non-human. Take me through what it is like being in the student section for this.
It is like absolutely unreal. It is like this undenying feeling of family and unity and community. It's like you're all standing together, and it's like differences just don't exist. Like you are united for the first time in your life. Everyone just feels like they're at home and like they're with people that love them. And that moment when you win in the crowd, like I can't even describe what that feeling is like it's just family.
I've never seen something like this anywhere I've been in being in the sports world. So describe it to people who might not understand how crazy cool this is to not only have a rival, but to do it up as big as SPS does in general.
So at least for North Central and Shadle Park, many of us, we filter in obviously from a lot of different schools, and our boundaries just changed, so it's a little bit different now. But at least our senior class and the few classes before us, there is a split from Salk and from Glover and Shot. Like there's, you split from your friends, which sounds hard, and it is. It's a very hard transition when you leave them. But then you go against them in a one-time, yearly, head-to-head battle, and there's just nothing like it because people talk about it for days after. They talk about it all year long. It's not just something we do because we want to stress ourselves out or it's fun or a few people go. There is not something that gets 3/4 of a school of 1,600 kids together except this rivalry. And it's not even that it's against another school. It's the fact that it's with us. It's the fact that we like to show our NC pride just all together and love to show up for our family, and that's really what it is.
Throughout that whole interview, North Central made a great point of how many alumni they have teaching at NC. And so it's not just Groovy Shoes during that week or that time period or for the last 3 months or whatever it might be. It is literally all year round for them.
It's part of their culture.
Exactly.
They're excited to have this game, but it's all year and they integrate all the different people. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
So thinking ahead to this Railroad Rumble that we've been talking about.
Yes.
Rogers is going to bring it. I have no doubt.
Absolutely.
Because last year, thrown together in the middle of COVID, they were awesome. And maybe they didn't have as many kids as Cheney that were at the game, but first of all, it was snowing, and everything was going against them as could happen.
Right.
But it was a fantastic night, and like I said before, one of the best nights of all last year. And I think it's so cool to establish a new tradition, which
really
is what
is.
they're doing. And they underestimate themselves because the things I've heard about their planning and the things we're going to hear in this interview, it's definitely going to be an awesome night.
My name is Emma Coleman. I am a junior in high school, and I am the vice president of our ASB team here at Rogers.
And I am Aaron Braychek. I'm the athletic director here at Rogers.
So last year was your guys' first year for the Railroad Rumble with Cheney. For your first year, how was it?
We were kind of like massively introduced to the entire idea, and I think Miss Doctorman kind of made a point to how big this game really was, and I think we started like 2 months ahead to like make all the posters, all the props for the crowd, the whole rollout things, and all the cheers and stuff, and planning out. Our theme was Pirates Got Game, so we had like board games, video games, a whole lot of Pac-Man stuff going on. Mario, Super Mario Bros. But we did get a win for there, so it was very, very exciting as it was our first year.
Going along with that, when you get to the game and you have this first experience with the Railroad Rumble, take me through the game and how these students and the students here at Rogers came together to make this happen, and then enough for it to continue into a second year.
Big thing is getting spirit packs, because if you get the spirit packs, then that means your numbers are going up, how many kids are going to be there. And I mean, you're being judged on being unified, you're being judged on loudness, sportsmanship. Like if you throw a piece of paper at the other team, you get docked points. Like, you gotta be strict on having everybody wear the same shirt, same colors. We decided that we were going to go with Rogers colors, so we had a lot of purple and gold, black and stuff. making sure everyone's cheering at the same time.
What did you learn about last year that you guys are taking into this year's Railroad Rumble?
So with our new advisor, it's kind of difficult to continue trends. So we're kind of setting a whole new foundation of what it's going to look like. Our theme is Nickelodeon. So we have a lot to work off of there too. We got, the whole slime, the blimp, the iconic orange and white. We're going for that color for the Spirit shirts.
We learned a lot from last year. I mean, it's we're in a brand new facility. Last year we were at Reese Court there in Eastern. This year we're going to be at the arena for the first time ever, which is going to be super exciting for our staff and our players. And we're really looking forward to defending our title.
How did this idea come about? Because year after year, you hear of the iconic Groovy Shoes and Rubber Chicken, and then there's nothing for you guys, unfortunately. Where did this idea come from, and how did you guys get Cheney on board with this as well?
Yeah, so this really developed basically 3 years ago. The year of COVID, we were planning on having a Spirit game with Cheney as well. When the GSL expanded to a 2A and Cheney became part of the GSL, that's really where this stemmed from. Cheney had their old rival of Medical Lake. We never had a rival, and so we got together and had the discussion. And we really looked at what does Cheney and the Hilliard community have in common, and it's railroads. We were both going back rail yards. And so that's really where the Railroad Rumble came from, is just the link between the two communities. And yeah, we really hope that this just continues going and becomes even bigger and better each year.
How are you guys trying to also just implement that we are together? This is a really fun thing that you can all just be in the student section and make it this incredible experience for students.
We've set the groundwork on some of the stuff just by inviting kids to come to our girls and boys basketball games already. We've got some hype kind of surrounding our two teams already. So we're trying to build up there. Our dance team and our cheer team are already working on some cheers and things to kind of unite the crowd and get them ready for that in that aspect. One of the cool things that we're going to kind of implement this year, not just unity at Rogers, but unity with Cheney, is we're going to be doing a couple of really cool things. Our bands are going to actually play the national anthem together. Rather than just showcasing one school or the other, we said, hey, we want this to be a unifying experience. Yes, this is a rivalry that we're building, but really it's just about having kids have fun, right? Go celebrate the basketball team, have fun, show our school spirit, and we don't have to do that against each other. We can do it together as well. One other thing that we're going to be doing is starting in January, fundraising for the Ronald McDonald House. We're going to have a little competition that will actually involve the community as well. The school that raises the most money, that will be the tiebreaker. So if the game ends up in a tie, I know this is news for you, Emma, but if the game ends up in a tie, the community that raises the most money for the Ronald McDonald House will earn that tiebreaker point. So that's going to be launched in January. So hopefully those of you listening to this in January will go in there and donate some money for the Hilliard community and push Rogers over the top.
I think you bring up a great point about how competition kind of gives an opportunity to have that unified experience, that type of camaraderie, hey, we're a rivalry, but we're doing it together. If I'm going to be bringing my game, you got to be bringing your game too. So it kind of gets everybody in that sense of oh, we're doing this, but we're doing this together, but I'm winning. Just kidding. Actually, wait, I'm definitely winning.
How incredible is it that Cheney and Rogers, of course, establishing this rivalry competition, but still looking at it larger than life, giving back to the Ronald McDonald House, raising money for that charity. Really, really cool stuff that's going on in this Railroad Rumble.
And so cool how it evolved with the connection with the railroads. I mean, that couldn't be more Spokane area.
Right.
And a fantastic connection. Makes sense when we brought on the 2A and formed a 2A, 3A, 4A league like Aaron talked about. But I'm really looking forward to this night and can't wait to see what Rogers brings.
Yeah. what they bring, and of course what the basketball teams bring too, because there is basketball games that take place at these Spirit games.
Don't forget, there's basketball games.
Don't forget, and we can't forget about those people in stripes, the refs. And that is one thing we want to talk about, is the need for officials across the district. Welcome back to SPS Extra. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Stephanie. So we were talking about the need for refs. So it seems like we've had a lot of refs retire, and we have more kids than ever participating. So we need refs. We need officials.
Yeah.
We need people to get out there and do the work.
Yes, absolutely. And it can be a little intimidating. We know that. But this is such a great way to not only give back, but to also get your foot in the door. If you're thinking you want to be a coach someday, maybe you want to help in certain sports, organizations, whatever it may be, this is a great thing to put on your resume.
And it's definitely even a career path. And I know people have told me that it was their way to get to travel.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of Pac-12 refs in Spokane schools who are now teachers. I think they're not refs anymore.
Yeah.
But they had a great time traveling all around, going to different NC2A tournaments and all the things that they got to do. So it's a cool opportunity, and we need people.
Exactly. The need is there.
Absolutely. So give back to high school activities by becoming a referee, umpire, or any sport really that needs an official. To learn more about that, you can find out on greaterspokaneleague.org. There's a big ad there. You can't miss it. To get involved, these kids need you.
Yes, they do.
Let's go. Come on, refs. Refs out there. We need more
Come
of those. So one place that I have seen quite a few refs, and I know they are looking for more, is our new Hooptown Youth League.
Yeah.
There are a lot of referees out there, and they've brought on some officials that are new high school age people, and they're building their capacity to supply refs and officials for all these games, because we have 4,000 kids in the area playing Hooptown Youth League basketball.
No big deal.
No big deal at all, but so awesome. Super big deal.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about in our next episode. So that'll be fantastic.
Oh, that'll be so much fun. Of course, we all know Hoop Fest.
Right. And now we have the Hooptown Youth League, which is this combination of all local school districts. Spokane Schools has been a big part of the organization and leadership in it. We've got 2,000 kids playing, and then we've got another 2,000 from area school districts all around town. You walk into a gym November, December on a Saturday, you're going to see tons of kids playing.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, these K2s that play, the kindergartners, first graders, and second graders on their 8-foot baskets, they are learning how to play basketball, and they're excited about it. So we're excited to jump into more of these podcasts and look forward to that as the next episode.
Well, I don't know about you, Steph, but that was fun.
So fun. I can't wait to talk to more kids,
Same.
get this out to everybody, and really just continue the excitement around Spokane Schools athletics and activities.
Same. And remember to follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, @Spokane Schools, and visit our website, spokaneschools.org, where you can find SPS Extra and wherever you listen to your podcasts.